Thanks, Anthony. Yes, great to be here at Ecobuild. And one of the things that I'm going to try to do here is explain to you how some of the things that we've heard as concepts, how we can actually turn it into reality in the water sector, working with the water companies that you can see up on the screen there, household names. So as chair of BIM for Water, I'm looking to pull that group together so that we can implement BIM and deliver some of the value that's been talked about. So you've seen this diagram, and I won't dwell on it too long, but the owner-operators play a key part in this diagram that represents PAS 1192. The top 2/3 of that diagram, organisational information requirements, asset information requirements, all client-centric, and the clients need to create the landscape for the projects to deliver into their long-term asset information models. So in that bottom right-hand corner there, contractors and the supply community are working to deliver into that asset information model. And the connection between the two is the employer's information requirements, where the clients actually set out what they require to be delivered back to them, so that we can deliver that long-term value through information management. So BIM for Water, we are one of the government BIM 4 groups, one of the government BIM 4 communities. Our mission is to facilitate organisations in the water sector to adopt building information modelling. We meet 4 times a year. We had our annual conference actually yesterday, and we have 4 task groups which also look at detailed issues around standard libraries, generating case studies, and looking at the benefits of BIM. We collaborate with other industry groups. One of Paul's colleagues, Daniel Roster, came and spoke to us about where things are going with BRE and building smart. We talk with Infrastructure UK, so there's a lot of collaboration. We're not just operating individually as a water sector, and we're connected with the other BIM 4 communities. So collaboration, where do we want clients to collaborate? The parallel that I've been drawing is between the digital revolution that we're going through and the industrial revolution that we're all still seeing the benefits of. And in that industrial revolution, we needed to create some standards. So we agreed that we would have a standard gauge for railways. That doesn't mean that all rolling stock is exactly the same, but it creates a framework and an environment. And I didn't know until I was at BSI the other day, actually BS1 was actually to do with rail track and rail standards. Also, if you look at the rail sector, we standardise time in order to enable us to timetable in the rail sector. Doesn't mean that all train operating companies operate on the same timetable, but they have a framework within which they compete. So my contention is that in order for us to be efficient and to innovate and create the environment within which suppliers will want to invest in the long term, will want to innovate, it's beholden on clients to create that environment which gives that confidence that they can then invest in the future. So in the water sector, we have things called AMPs, which are our asset management plan and asset management program cycles. They're 5-year cycles in the water sector. We're in our 6th cycle now since privatisation in 1989. In the first 5 cycles, first 25 years, we've been delivering capital programs, and we've been focused on just delivering projects. What we're learning, I believe, in this AMP program is we're learning digital capability. And it is going to take us a long time to learn that digital capability in this digital revolution. And then what we will be able to do once we've learned how to operate in a digital world is we can then deliver in AMP7 and the AMP programs going forward, really deliver a digitally enabled customer service. And we will then have genuine digitally enabled infrastructure. We'll have digital infrastructure. And that will lead and allow the water sector to play its part in Digital Built Britain. So, in that, information and data are key. I don't care whether it's BIM, EIR, Asset Lifecycle Information Management, GIS, it's the information that's the key part of it. We manage our information through a common data environment. So information and data is key. And actually, if I look back at PAS 1192 and what the title is of that specification, part 2 and part 3, it's a specification for information management. It's not till you get to the 3rd and 4th lines in those titles that it says building information modeling. So it's information management that's the key part. So in the water sector, what we're looking to do is to build the foundations for AMP7. If you want to have a great meal at the top of the Shard, or you want to have a great view, you're relying on solid foundations. If we want to deliver a digitally built Britain and a digitally enabled service in the water sector in AMP7, we need to lay the foundations now in where we are in AMP6. So that's employers' information requirements. It's around creating and understanding how we operate in common data environments. It's about learning new delivery processes. We will deliver projects differently in a digitally enabled world to the way that we've delivered them in a paper-based world. And those new processes will require us to upskill the workforce. And Amanda was saying that we can't carry on beyond 2019 unless we get more skills into the workforce. We are learning new skills. There's a huge opportunity that we will miss if we don't embrace this digital world. A lot of people say, what are the benefits? The benefits, yes, but also think of the missed opportunity. Not improving health and safety opportunities through digital rehearsals, using the digital technology that we have to rehearse our construction processes. Not enabling 20% efficiency in the construction sector. It's not my figure of 20%, but if you take 20+ billion that's being invested in the water sector in the next 5 years, 20% of 20+ billion is a big number. Not realising the operational savings. The water sector is a sector that continues to operate and continues to operate for many years. 80% of the value is in the operations going forward. So we need to realise that value. And then in our periodic reviews, when the water companies are applying for funding to Ofwat, PR19, PR24, having better data allows them to create better business plans to make their applications to Ofwat. Then there's customer service and also us playing our part in Digital Built Britain. I've got a number as to what that means for some of the water companies, but whatever you think it is, it's a big number. So possible opportunities for us to collaborate in the water sector, product data templates, and this is getting down to the real detail of how do we actually make this digital environment work. The things that Amanda and we've heard about from the climate change discussion. We really get down to the detail to make these things work. So it's about the detail of products. P&ID symbols, how we actually represent things in our water sector. Standard assets. We want a green one for United Utilities, a blue one for Anglian Water, a green one for Severn Trent. We really need to be looking as an industry at how we can create standard assets, because then the suppliers will be able to be more efficient in what they deliver. Understanding what our employers' information requirements are. 12 different water and sewerage companies. Surely it can't be that difficult. They're all running the same sorts of assets, so there must be some commonality there. Same with common data environment. Same with the sorts of products that we have, which enable us to look at digital manufacture off-site, design and manufacture off-site, and assembly on-site. Asset classification. What we actually call an asset. In the banking sector, we have things like sort codes, and we have things like IBAN codes, and we have a standard number of digits in an account code. So surely in the water sector, it can't be that difficult for water companies to agree some sort of asset classification, and we're talking with the Uniclass guys about how water can play its part in that. We are looking at the benefits, and we're also looking at how we can collaborate with the regulator. So we think there's a lot lot to be gained through efficiency, through collaboration, and what we're looking at is how BIM for Water can help deliver that digital built Britain in the water sector.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you. Quick question though, Andrew. Whole life value in a world which is dominated by OPEX and CAPEX. Is it possible to really embrace this whole new world of collaboration and whole life value?
Yeah, I think absolutely. If you look at the efficiency that the water companies can gain by linking up CAPEX and OPEX, and what they're talking about now is TOTEX, and that's coming through the regulator. So recognising that total cost of ownership and the linkage that there is between the project world and the asset management world, the OPEX world, I think is a huge opportunity.
Because I suppose the digital revolution you talk about here, it does really, unless you actually embrace that whole world, it just comes across potentially as just an extra cost.
Absolutely. And, you know, I liken the timescale of the industrial revolution to the timescale of the digital revolution. So the sorts of values that have been talked about around climate change, around where we're going with a digital society, unless we actually invest now, build the foundations now, we won't realise that value in the future. Yeah, and so we have got to bite the bullet, I believe, and think beyond a 5-year AMP cycle, think beyond a government term. We've got to be an industry that will stand up and say, let's think long term, and then we will realise this value of digital infrastructure.
Andrew, thank you very much for our report. Andrew Cowell.